What's up, y'all? John Flan Speaks. I'm on my way to work as normal. I just wanted to make a quick statement regarding, Eagles wide receiver DeSean Jackson, and his controversial statements and what the Eagles have done and the response from them and the Jewish community real fast, because I do believe, since on my channel I do deal with sports as well, and it's also related to somewhat of a religio, socio-political, issue. Now, whether or not I support DeSean Jackson's statement, what I do understand is that in America, under our Constitution, we have supposedly free speech. So what I would say is I support his right to that free speech, which is what should be first off noted by everyone who claims to be a Constitution-abiding American. That's number one. Now, with regards to the Eagles' response, as well as the response of much of the Jewish community, like the Defamation League and so on, they're doing what I expected, right? You look at the Jewish Defamation League and so on, and most of them are supporters of Zionism and the Zionist movement, which is the movement that is behind the establishment of the state of the modern-day state of Israel, and it comes with a number of claims. One of the claims is that the people who have conquered the modern state of Israel today are Semitic people with a blood lineage going back to the prophets, Isaac and Abraham, the patriarch. Okay, this is the claim. And beyond that, of course, because Abraham is a descendant of the son of Noah, Shem, which is what Semitic comes from. And I wanted to mention that first of all, because you have a lot of people talking, and this includes DeSean Jackson as well as even Steven Jackson, who right now is real popular because his connection to George Floyd, as a friend right now. So people looking at him as a hero and a spokesman. But last night I saw him on his live feed having a conversation with a Jewish rabbi where he stated he has no idea what Semitic is. He didn't even know how to say it, which is ridiculous because he's on First Take defending DeSean Jackson's statements and don't even know what a Semite is. Okay, so I want to make that clear. A Semite is a person who descends from Shem, the son of Noah. Okay, now this is the claim that modern day Ashkenazi Jewry, and the reason we say Ashkenazi is because they are Jews who hail from particularly like Eastern European places and places like Poland and stuff like that. Those types of, those Jews. They claim that their people are descendants from Shem. And I'm not here to really discuss that. But there are challenges to that. And it challenge doesn't only come from like the Black Hebrew Israelite movement that you have in the United States and other places. That challenge comes from many others. And so what the Eagles ownership, Jeffrey Lurie, who is one of these, he's a Jew, Ashkenazi, and the others like the Defamation League and so on. Of course, they issue statements where they are appalled at the statement, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that Adolf Hitler is mentioned, and that I understand. Adolf Hitler did do a number on the Jews. Now, whether or not the numbers are what they're saying, 5 million or whatever, we know this stuff is disputed. This is outside of what I'm going to speak of. We do know that Jews were marginalized and attacked, okay, in Germany, right, during World War II. We understand that, all right? Something happened that was very atrocious. And of course, we would understand any of them would feel that way. Many of them have, grandparents who suffered that and etc. I get it. Now, so they issued those statements that they issued. Now, the larger thing and the problem I'm having is that this here discussion is all throughout mainstream media. You have like the local channels, WIP 97.5 with, you know, their DJs, Mark Farzetto and others who are ignorantly speaking on the issue, have no fucking idea what they're talking about, excuse my language, and they're not discussing what a Semite is. They're not prepared to have that discussion, really. But I guess what it is it's ratings right now is a hot topic, so they're going to talk about it. And my thing is, I have a problem with anyone speaking on something without proper foreknowledge of the subject. I just have a problem with that. Period. I don't care who you are or what's going on. Now, from this perspective of these Ashkenazi Jews, like the Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles owner, and others, I understand what they're doing. What it is they don't want that discussion, right? The discussion that the so-called Hebrew Israelites bring up, that Black Hebrew Israelites in America bring up, where their claim is that they have descendants that are that they are the real Semitic Jews. Okay, this is their claim, and my thing is, you have to prove that, right? But that's outside of what I'm talking about. But I honestly feel like, really, the claim is just as equal with that the Ashkenazis claim, that Hebrew Israelites claim. It's pretty much, it's the same, right? To claim lineage to a tribe, any tribe, or any people, one has to have a family tree that names names going back to that ancestor. So in other words, if you are a descendant of Shem and you want to make this claim, then you should be able to name all of your fathers going back to Shem. You could do that, and it can be verified that these people actually existed, that you're not just making up names or some shit like that. Then hey, it is what it is, right? It doesn't matter who believes you or who doesn't. Now, what the problem is, though, is the modern day Ashkenazis who run Israel right now they abide by a particular philosophy known as Zionism. Okay, prior to Zionism's formulation in the late 1800s and their actual move making, which started with the Balfour Declaration in England in 1917, which led to them wresting Palestine from the Ottomans. Okay, this all happened in World War I. Prior to that, you didn't hear, anti-Semite and stuff like that. So whenever you hear the word anti-Semitism, understand that you're dealing with Zionists. This is the first thing you got to understand. You're dealing with Zionists. Now, the issue with Zionism is that all of Jewry does not support Zionism, and all of Jewry does not support what is going on in Israel. Whether or not I support is outside of the scope of this conversation, right? You have Hasidic Jews, many. You can look this up on YouTube. Many of them don't support it. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, when we talk about a Semite, right? Jews, even if we were to assume, right, that these Ashkenazis claim to being descendants of Shem is true, if we were to even assume that, they're not the only Semites, right? I want to go at some of this hypocrisy here. Descendants of Shem includes a number of different people, okay? Like, for example, Shem, as we know, was the ancestor of Abraham. Abraham had two sons, Isaac and Ishmael, okay? The Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews, are claiming to be descendants of Isaac, okay? Now, we know for a fact that Arabs are descendants of Ishmael, right? So, Arabs are also Semitic people. The Arabic language is a Semitic language, okay? But no one has a problem with, anti-Arab speech or Arabic speech or anything like that. Whenever one speaks about an Arab, there's no call against, being anti-Semitic. Sometimes, as ridiculous as it is, people have called Arabs anti-Semites when they spoke against Jews and Palestinians who are also Semites, right? So like, are you real? So understand, it's just Zionism is what's behind that. And what's behind like the Jeffrey Lurie statement and stuff like that. They're not really interested in having that conversation with the blacks or anything like that. Like the Jewish Defamation League actually just calls the Hebrew Israelites a hate group. That's what they do. Labeling someone something like that is a way of just not dealing with the conversation. Like if they were honest and wanted to sit down and have a conversation, both sides would show the evidence that they believe supports their claim to being the real Semites. Okay? And this is what I'm saying, that this particular issue is not being brought up at all. Instead, what we're getting is just a bunch of, Zionistic propaganda and rhetoric, and this is hate speech and anti-semitism and stuff like that, and all of that gets on my nerves, because if you're going to deal with something, deal with it, man, or just shut up. Like it's just politicized. It's not too different from the many other groups, man. Like the Black Lives Matter group, which is really like a group that's really a LGBTQ movement, really, that just uses the black cause to they want to ride coattail in order to promote their particular agenda, right? So pretty much, man, that's all I wanted to say, man. Just be real. Like, research things, man. Look into the reality of stuff. Don't just follow, the popular narrative of everything, because I mean, you're not really going to be a very polished, enhanced, well-rounded, knowledgeable person that has a view of the world that is accurate, that allows you to navigate this world as a person who's not being completely just controlled and manipulated by others who have agendas. And with that, Philan speaks.